My name is Sarah Wilds, and I work in the trenches in San Quentin State Prison as a case manager. First of all, I just want to thank you for being here today. I feel really inspired by the opportunity to dialogue and collaborate. This is a beginning. I'm also grateful that this is a free event. I feel that this is the beginning for programming to happen. I'm actually speaking, I think, not only for myself, but for a lot of people who are in the trenches doing programming in San Quentin in particular. And I want to speak for the programming that's happening there and that's not getting the funding. A model program that happened in Oakland, thanks to one leader, to our Mayor Jerry Brown, who came to San Quentin and wanted to address the recidivism rate and the violent offenders going back to his community, was able to get a federal grant and support a program in San Quentin and have that run part-time and have hundreds of man-hours of classes and community programming happen on a daily basis. And Jeannie Woodford and a collaboration of different service providers were able to make that happen. I'm just curious and interested in challenging the city of San Francisco to look at programs that are already happening and the passion and the dedication of volunteers that are already doing so much programming in the prisons already, and to create a venue for those programs that are already happening for them to go seek funding to continue those programs. The program that I'm speaking of lost the funding after 3 years, even though we had 180 students a quarter going through these programs of 10 to 15-hour classes a week, rehabilitating themselves. A program like that should be able to sustain itself just through the funding of one program coordinator.
We're running out of time.
Okay, so I'm just, yeah, I would like to see a venue and channel created for community service providers to go to somewhere in the city of San Francisco to seek funding and continue programs that are already happening in our prison system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Allison West. I run the California Reentry program at San Quentin. We have quite a contingent here.
Could you speak up into the mic?
Sorry. My name's Allison West. I run the California Reentry program at San Quentin. I have what I hope is a very brief question. When the question was first asked about if you had unlimited funding, what would you do to assist in reentry? I'm curious if any of you would seriously consider sort of a public media campaign to educate the public in city and county of San Francisco about how incarcerating people for long periods of time, throwing away the key, is not reducing crime, not reducing violence. I think a lot of the problem is the public concept and sort of the conservative voice of owning the language of fear. And I guess I would like to see if any of you have considered that or feel that that's an important item on the agenda for some spending. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. The Sheriff's Department had a public information campaign of that nature several years ago called Record Breaker, in which case we had funding for posters and bus stop advertisement where we highlighted actual people who had been in prison or been in jail and who went on to have careers and jobs and who were willing to essentially expose their lives and their backgrounds. And we did a public education campaign of that nature through Community Works. We still have those posters up in the front lobby of our downtown jail. I think the dilemma you always face is if you have some money available, are you going to try to educate the public, or are you going to try to provide direct services? And I think more oftentimes we err on the side of providing direct services.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
Oh.
I'm getting the cutoff sign here.
My name is Denise Smith, and I have worked with probation youth for the last 5 years from our juvenile justice system. I am a caseworker, and I represent Mission Neighborhood Centers. And my question is, funding reentry programs to a level that will lend itself for success has to be systematic. And also, my question is to the mayor, I'm sure he's gone, but I know he'll hear this, is that why is it necessary to bring people from other parts of the country to deal with the unique problems of San Francisco instead of involving local people that have answers to the many of the local problems? And my last question is, do you support gang injunctions?
Would anyone like to address themselves to those questions about more local involvement with reentry efforts?
I'll make a comment on that. Again, my very short time in San Francisco, about a month, my observation thus far has been I'm amazed at the high level of community involvement compared to other locations where I've been. And I think that when we talk about trying to develop the best solutions for difficult problems, that none of us know the answers to all of it. And the wider range of ideas and input that we get, I think the better off we are as far as developing good solutions.
Does anyone want to respond to the last question about gang injunctions?
I guess I could, because I definitely oppose them. And you know, the idea behind these gang injunctions is that, you know, you're going to identify all the, quote, undesirable bad people and ban them from the community. Every study I've seen, the few that there are out there, shows that it simply displaces crime to other areas, that essentially you give the police unlimited power to decide who is and who is not a gang member, that it subjects people to illegal arrest and detention. And we were in court yesterday arguing against the gang injunction. And just to give you a sense, I mean, the person that I was representing never been convicted of a crime before. His only infraction was that he was seen on 3 occasions with an alleged gang member, who happened to be his cousin. And that, and he's a rapper. He rapped about gang culture. I mean, by that standard, I mean, Eminem would be subject to a gang injunction, 50 Cent and everyone else. So, I mean, I just think that these are wrong-headed solutions. If you look at Los Angeles, which has 30 gang injunctions and started these 15 years ago, they have now six times as many gangs as they did back then. They have over 11,000 gang crimes last year. New York, which has not used these gang injunctions, instead used community-based interventions, had 504 gang-related crimes last year in New York City. So you do the math, it doesn't add up.